For September the 27th, 2024, we talk about Frostpunk 2, Master Detective Archive Rain Code, the Sony State of Play announcements, and much more. Welcome to Level 516. My name is Kole Ross.
I'm Dennis Furia.
I'm Moxie.
And I'm Jala Prendez.
And you are listening to The Level. It's a podcast for people who love video games. Back after 2 weeks off, something I don't like doing. But we missed the night of the presidential debate because honestly, I think we would have been distracted. And then last week was my week off, so I didn't. Well, yeah, that one's on me, everybody.
I mean, I appreciate Trump canceling the next presidential debate so that we don't miss any more episodes.
Oh gosh. We're getting a later start tonight, so we might want to get the banter here abbreviated. Jala's filling in for Ben. How you doing, Jala?
Yeah, so I had the flu and COVID shot combo, and so I was down for a week because I respond to that very strongly.
Yeah.
Other than that, just been doing some podcasting and stuff. So more recently, as of the time that this episode of The Level drops, the first episode of my Shining Force 3 episode series, there will be 4 total main episodes and then also some bonus episodes, will be coming out the same day that this episode drops. So that will be an overview episode, spoiler free, about 2.5 hours of just talking about what this game is, how it plays, all this other wonderful fun stuff. You all know the drill. And otherwise, Dave and I were both on Nostalgium Arcanum from Doug Leaf, talking about In Living Color. And yes, I got to talk about that skit that I think about every time somebody says the grind.
I just remember the Dracula one.
That's the one I'm talking about.
Yeah, that is a national treasure.
To my knowledge, that is the only In Living Color sketch.
There's also Homie the Clown.
Absolutely, Homie the Clown. So, yeah. But unfortunately, I had found out that there was a book all about the making of In Living Color, and I got to read only the first couple of chapters before we recorded because I found it too late. So I was so sad about that because I wanted to bring more research. I've got to research all the time.
Yeah.
But oh well, that's fine. How is everybody else doing?
Doing good. Moxie, Dennis, and I saw each other this past Sunday. We went to the Renaissance Festival.
Ooh.
Yeah, we did.
Yeah, that was like my big outing for my week off. Going and doing stuff. Everything else was just kind of hanging around, which was nice and therapeutic. The Renaissance Festival was nice, but I was definitely like scary, like scary overheated by the end of it.
Yeah. It was one of those September surprise roast you days.
Yeah, no, like just as we were walking out and we stopped by the first aid tent to get some free bottled water, I noticed that my arms were getting a little bit chilly. It's like, oh boy, oh no. But no, it was neat. It was my first time going, and I was mostly impressed with the actual physical build of the place.
It's a cool little venue.
Cool stagecraft done in building the shops and what have you, and getting to see those shows alongside your kids. Dennis.
Yes.
Yeah.
They were on cloud 9. Although I realized I did not warn them, as I did not warn you, just how much splatter there was in the mud show.
I wasn't aware of what a mud show was or how literal that would be, actually.
Oh, it is. Yes, it is. If there was there's sleet, there's hail. What is it when mud is falling from the sky?
I don't know.
See, whatever the word for that is would be more appropriate than just mud.
Right.
Yeah, so that sent some of my kids running the first time there was a big splatter sent out into the crowd.
Yeah.
But they overall enjoyed it a ton.
Nice. Yeah, no, I mean, anybody that's like my thing. So I'll defer. I'll say, Dennis, did you have anything besides the Ren Fest that you were?
Yeah, I have a forward-looking one that is very exciting, and I'm sure everyone knows what's coming. Deck of Wonders, The Master of Dungeons, is going to relaunch on Kickstarter come this Tuesday. So it's a week from when we record. It'll be just 4 days or something from when you're listening, if you listen on the day we release. So this is the kind of retooled and better, faster, stronger campaign. And would absolutely appreciate it if everyone who listens to this would go and check it out. You can just search Deck of Wonders on Kickstarter and it'll come right up. And yeah, hopefully by the time we are recording next week, I can talk about it being off to a very strong start. We can get the game's first expansion made and out to the public.
Nice.
Yeah.
And if you're listening to this ahead of that launch, you can just go do that search and then sign up for an alert for when it goes live.
Correct. Yes.
Immediate calls to action. Yes.
Pause the podcast. Do it now.
Swerve wildly while you're doing it while you're driving. Don't do that. Nice. Well,
yes, and no, thank you to anyone who's paid attention to it, who has enjoyed the game. Like, this is really exciting to do a second version of it, and yeah, this is I'm feeling really positive about where we've gotten it to. Cool. So fingers crossed.
Yeah, Moxie, how about you?
Not a whole heck of a lot. We had our monthly goth party this past Sunday, and this time around, one of our DJs was the 9-year-old daughter of one of our friends, so that was kind of fun. Seeing a little kid get her introduction to spinning some beats.
How'd she do?
She did well. Really, really good selection. She picked out all the music by herself, and yeah, it was really good. Yeah.
What does a 9-year-old know of suffering and the futility of life?
Oh man, I don't know. 9-year-olds can get, life's rough. A lot of demands.
Actually, yeah, it's a 9-year-old that has grown up over the past decade. They know a lot, actually.
Yeah, I was going to say, we do live in the darkest timeline.
No, they're aging like presidents.
Because of presidents, unfortunately.
Yeah, partially to blame, yeah.
The only light left to us is Mudang.
Yes.
What the heck is a Mudang?
The universal love for Mudang, the hippo, are they in Thailand or Taiwan?
Thailand,
yes.
Mm-hmm.
I assumed it was. Oh, go ahead.
Oh, baby pygmy hippo that is taking the internet by storm. The universal belovedness of Mudang almost makes me want to be contrarian and just find arbitrary reasons to be a hater for Mudang.
I was kind of like, everybody did the same thing when Fiona the hippo was.
Yeah, I was going to say, I'm sorry. This is a Fiona podcast.
But Mudang, she's not the only one. She has several siblings as well, and there's actually like a 24-hour live stream cam of Mudang and friends. Yeah. So, but I will say, all of them being pygmy hippos, they're smaller, and that makes them adorable. They're so cute. Yeah. Like, she doesn't actually, she can't eat food, like solid food yet, but she pretends to be eating because her mom eats. Yeah. And it's very cute. But she also likes to bite everybody. And I can totally get down with that energy.
She's always either screaming or biting. And
screaming or biting. But then every once in a while you get these cute pictures where she's just being loved on and she's just cute and squishy. Yeah. So anyway, let's go back to the show.
Yeah, let's do that.
The other adorable thing is one of the children that came to attend was dressed as what's the little goth creature from Hello Kitty?
I don't know.
The wrong people. I don't know.
Yeah. Look it up and interject with it. I will throw it to you. Look it up and when we
apparently it is a Kuromi.
Okay.
Oh, okay. Kuro
It
meaning
is
black.
also Mudang.
Yeah.
Cool. Well, I think we should talk about games. And to do that, we need to do the regular kind of show, what with the grind, the multiplayer, and the end boss. And why don't we get started with
The grind.
The grind, where we talk about the games we have been playing over the past period of time or so. Jala, since you've been away the longest, I will throw it to you first.
Yeah, so once upon a time, I talked on this show about playing Master Detective Archives Raincode, and Kole, you also played it, and you played as far as I played, and then I don't know, did you ever pick it back up? Because I just like promptly turned it off and just didn't play it again. Did you play more of it?
I did not.
Okay.
Not because I didn't like what was on display. I was actually kind of curious to see where they would go from how that chapter ended.
Great, then I can tell you all about it.
Yeah, okay.
So, I played all of the so the part that you played in the beginning is kind of like a tutorial level, and it takes place on a train. After that part is over, that's the part that you and I both played. After that, directly after that, there is a whole prologue where it's just you talking and like we're rather listening to somebody explain to you what's going on, and it's very slow, and it introduces all the characters, and there's nothing for you to do except for just like listen and stand around or sit, and it's real boring. And then eventually that part ends, and then you get to chapter 1, which has a cool title. It's the Nail Man Killings, and you're like, oh cool, so we're getting into the real stuff now. And I'm like, okay, maybe this will be cool from here. So it's slow. So after the intro sequence where they just kind of set up what's going on, then you get turned loose to wander around Kanai Ward, which is where the game takes place. And this opened up world, it allows you to go around a couple of different districts. And that only means that like there's not a whole lot for you to go do. There's some things you can pick up, these hidden items that have clues in your menu if you go look at it, that when you pick them up, they give you like an extra bonus scene where it's your primary character, Yuma, talking to one of the other like backup characters, assistant characters, the other detectives that are on this detective force that you're part of now. And it's like one of those things where it's kind of like a support conversation from Fire Emblem, because like your friendship level or whatever with that, like at the end, every single time Shinigami says, oh, you've gotten closer after this. And then that's the end of it. And, you know, like you get them, they're hidden throughout the levels. There's not very many of them, so it's not like you're finding them left and right or anything like that. But you can go hunt those down. And then you can also have fetch quests for people. Lots of side quests, which slow down the pacing even further than it was already slow. So that's very unfortunate. I mean, like it opened it up and I'm like, oh, good. I like and explore, you know,
Yeah.
let me go and explore, especially since the setting is cool. It's like this rainy, always nighttime with all these neon lights everywhere kind of setting. It's very, you know, film noir type of thing, but like with neon. And so it looks cool. But then there's not a whole lot to do except just burn time. So you go through all of that, and then you go through your investigation, which kind of drags on. And then you finally get to the labyrinth part of it, which is the equivalent of a Danganronpa class trial. And so that labyrinth part feels like it takes way too long, even without the tutorial part in the beginning, right?
Yeah.
It spells out everything to you multiple times by the end, and the difficulty of all the mini games to reach the truth of the case is extremely low and forgiving, which is how they made up for the trouble people had with it in Danganronpa, probably, because a lot of people didn't like, you know, how the challenge or how confusing it was to put together the comic pieces or whatever in Danganronpa. And in here, they just lowered the difficulty and beat it into your head by repeating it a lot. And so the result is that the pacing is all kinds of messed up. It's not like in Danganronpa where the breaks and the murders feel like a good breather and a way to uncover more mysteries and learn about the characters and stuff. I mean, you get to learn about some of the characters a little bit, but like you're also off on fetch quests and looking for dongles and whatever. And so it's real slow. It's real slow.
Yeah.
I like some of the characters well enough. but not enough to really want to play consistently. I feel like this is something that I'm going to dip a toe in on and off because my drive to complete it is low. You know how there's always like some weird pervy guy or character of some sort that's real pervy in all of these Spike Chunsoft titles?
At least one, yeah.
Yeah. So at the end of the first chapter, you get to find your weird pervy person that's deeply, deeply, deeply dislikable. And so that's like yet another reason for me to be kind of lukewarm, because that means that character is going to start showing up now. So I like Shinigami-chan, and there is a non-binary detective named Halara Nightmare, which is cool. I like that character a lot. And the chief detective guy, Yako, who is voiced by Koyasu Takahito, who is like one of my favorite voice actors from Japan. But none of them are really like enough to carry all the lagging points and how long the rest of it's taking. So, just to give you an idea of how I feel about this one, I ended up picking AI, the AI, the Somnium Files, the sequel to that.
Yeah.
I picked up the sequel to that because I was like, I was sitting here playing this game and Dave was watching me play and he's like, "Are you still on that same part?" And then he's just like, I would rather see the AI sequel than this. And I'm like, that was not our favorite thing. So, now granted, a lot of people told me that the sequel to the AI title is a pretty good one. But, take it with a grain of salt, I guess. I mean, it depends on what you think about Spike Chunsoft in general. But anyway, so instead of playing more Rain-Code immediately, I will, provided that I don't get distracted by other things in my large list of games to play, it will be probably the other Spike Chunsoft title to see if that one is any better. Because, it's been a while since I played through one of their games. And I haven't been upset in a while, so no. But seriously, like, there's always something about these games that I like a lot, right? There's usually some at least one character that I like. Usually, not all the time. Like Danganronpa 3, it was hard for me to get through for a while until some of the characters calmed down. But like, usually there's a character, but there's also usually something really weird that I'm curious about. Unfortunately, with this Rain-Code game, I cannot say that I am super interested in what it's presenting to me, other than like the world, and some of the characters are cool, but like everything else, all the different moving parts that have been presented so far are not like catching me the way that basically every other Spike Chunsoft game usually does, to where I kind of hate play it. So
they're cool in a way that you would read a Wikipedia article about, not cool in the way you would play an 80-hour game with.
Yeah, something like that. And
isn't that basically what most visual novels are?
No. But this was the first chapter. There are 5 total chapters, so that means that I'm like 20% through the game at this point from the bits that I've played. I've played, because I'm playing on Switch, and Switch doesn't tell you how many hours you've played. It just says over 10 hours. So I don't know what that means. But
it sounds like a pacing nightmare. I'm very discouraged to hear that there is like a whole no mechanics prologue after that very long tutorial.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Like that sounds like a real bad kind of gig. And like, maybe with enough time and space, if I'm just real, zoned out and I don't want to put a lot of effort into something, that might be something for me to play. But
Now, so Spike Chunsoft is like an auteur, right? Like, I know there's a team behind it, but it's kind of one guy calling the shots, right?
Spike Chunsoft is a publisher more than anything.
Really?
Like, there are different like sub teams. Yeah. So like Spike Chunsoft, like there's like a general kind of vibe to the stuff they put out, but that's just because they have some pretty similar talent working for the studios who are around them.
Okay. Yeah. For some reason, I thought it was like a
guy, like a
Sid Meier. Not one person making the games, obviously, but like one person driving that aesthetic.
Yeah.
I wonder if they are a victim of, no one to tell them no one to put constraints on them. I feel like I've seen example after example of where, a little bit of constraint, a little bit of pushback actually helps creativity. And it just feels like these teams are operating completely without it.
Maybe. I think that they have an aesthetic, and they know that people like that. And so, it's kind of escalation after escalation more than anything. I'm speaking specifically in the kind of Danganronpa, line. So like that specific studio, like the developer that did Rain Code and then this, I think that it's possible that they are, that they're suffering from lack of an editor, but yeah, I don't know.
Well, I will say that like when I played World's End Club, which is another one that was real wild because that was like the little children's type of title. But that one was really fun and cute.
In middle school.
Well, it was really fun and cute, and it was like post-apocalyptic also, but like it managed to be like, it has some of those same vibes, but without the creepy weirdo stuff. And like, I rather liked that. So I was like, oh, okay, this looks a little bit like younger, like the Raincode main character, Yuma, looks younger than the ones in some of the other titles. So maybe this skews more into that direction. But then I'm like, I don't know.
Yeah.
Like I would tell you a little bit more about that disgustingly yuck character, but I don't know. It just... I don't know if you want to hear about it.
Dwell.
I don't know if you want to really hear about it. Anyway.
Are there any Danganronpa games where you can be the murderer?
I'm trying to think of an answer to that. If there's an answer that's not a spoiler.
Well, you could always play the Ultra Despair Girls spinoff thing, and that character's like a homicidal. I think that character probably killed people before, right?
Yeah, no, the Ultra Despair Girls, like the secondary character you play as, is from the first game, the Ultimate Writer. And she has like a serial killer alternate personality. So yeah.
Okay, but you can't just like solve the puzzles by just killing people.
No, it's pretty fixed. What you're looking for is something like Overboard, which is a game by the 80 Days people that is about getting away with your husband's murder on a cruise ship.
Yeah, I have that game in my backlog of stuff to play, but also I have been in their game production engine because I started working on a project.
Ooh.
So yeah.
Jala starting a new project? What?
I don't start projects all the time.
Yeah.
Like the only thing I started was what? My podcast? So anyway,
when you were talking about, it's like, oh, usually there's a character that pulls you through on this. It reminded me of an anecdote. I apologize if I shared this before, but for some reason, like I was on the phone with my mom when my one niece, like a step niece, was in the car with them. And it's like the topic of Danganronpa came up, just like, like, what's that game you're playing? Talking to her, like, or sir, what's that game or show you like? Like, oh, Danganronpa. I was like, okay, yeah. I was on speakerphone. I was like, I just asked who's your favorite character, and I forget who she said, because this was a long time ago. And she said, well, who's yours? I said Byakuya, the kind of rich snobby guy who you think is doing everything in the first one. And she was like, oh, that's kind of a boring answer. I was like, oh, okay. All right.
Wow. Judgy.
Excuse me.
Yeah, didn't mean to.
Bet you like the Yankees too.
I should sleep. Yeah.
I know someone, sorry. I know nothing of Danganronpa. So I've got a friend who cosplays, like, is a sometimes professional cosplayer that does cosplays someone called like Junko or something. Or
Junko Enoshima. She's kind of the main villain of the series. Jala loves her.
I just know this girl spends way too much effort on her wig.
Yeah, it's kind of outlandish hair, which is kind of the series' remit. Yeah. Favorite character in all fiction for Jala. Talks about it all the time.
Yeah.
It's like Moxie's The Stanley Parable.
I like Junko more than I like Ada. And that's sarcasm. So
I'm still trying to figure out if the bear is Dang or Rampa.
It's Monokuma is the name of him.
Okay, so
I
who's
like the
Dang and
bear.
who's Rampa?
Isn't it? What was it like? It's a portmanteau. It's like bullet accusation or something like that.
Yeah, it's something like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
He's on third.
Is there anything else you have, Jala?
No, that is it.
All right. I'm going to take the initiative here, and I'm going to go because I have something that just came out.
Ooh.
Yeah. Over my week off, I played and beat the main campaign for Frostpunk 2.
This is also one of mine.
Is it now? Okay.
Yeah.
So we can kind of tag team it here.
Yeah, I only played the tutorial or the like prologue and then enough of the first thing to like unlock the whatever they call the Book of Laws now, like the tech tree.
Yeah, there's the research tree, and then there's the council, so like the laws.
Okay, I didn't unlock the council, I guess.
Yeah. So like it's set up where you play like a prologue, like you play as some wanderers trying to set up a small little colony for your tutorial, and then every chapter after that is the same city that you're picking up. Something that is not especially present in that tutorial is kind of the main mechanic of this, which is the political system. So for anybody who is unaware, Frostpunk is a survival city builder that takes place kind of in this alternate history, Victorian kind of era, where the world got incredibly cold and humanity's chance for survival, at least the British's chance for survival, was to build these cities around these generators that burned coal to produce heat. And you have to survive these snowstorms that are rolling in while, conserving resources, allocating workers, and deciding whether or not you want to go to extreme measures to ensure your survival. Frostpunk 2 takes place 30 years after the initial Frostpunk. And you are playing as the successor to the captain from the first game, who you played as in the first game, in a society that has pretty well entrenched and also kind of expanded. So like this is a larger scale thing. You are not just developing in the crater, like the crater is already developed. Instead, you're like developing on the plains around it. And people have been settled there for long enough that political factions have started forming. So you've got specifically the Frostlanders, who are from out in the wilderness, and they value like adaptability and do not favor machinery. And the New Londoners, who are the city folk, who kind of value progress and solving things through automation. And then there are hardliners for each of those. There are the pilgrims, who are like, no technology. We need to find a way to embrace the Frostland. And the the stalwart, who are kind of a little bit like fashy, like technocrat kind of guys who really value like law and order and mechanizing as much as possible. And you are put into the situation where you are trying to develop this city to kind of make up for the mess that was left by the captain, kind of in the waning days of his rule. To make up for that, while these factions kind of battle over like power and try to get their way with the laws that are passed. And there's like a council system, and basically everything that you do will affect the favor with one of them or the other. And then your like resource, like how you're doing with feeding everybody and keeping everybody warm, and how radicalized certain factions are, contributes to another one of your like health bars, which is the rising tension. And all of this is taking place over the course of a kind of storyline as more and more stuff goes wrong in the city. Ultimately, I just about spoiled like where it went. But it's like playing an expanded, like higher stakes version of Frostpunk while constantly just thinking, oh, these fucking people, trying to keep people happy, or at least I
So
was, right?
can you just purge?
Eventually, like you can focus on like building like a way to de-radicalize people is to build prisons and just like basically put them in the cooler until they don't sabotage your shit anymore. And as is the case with the original Frostpunk, you can go to even more extreme measures to kind of consolidate authority like within your stewardship. And do things like, initiate guided voting, initiate like secret police and stuff like that. I played on easy, or the game's equivalent of easy, because I knew that I knew that it would be a learning curve to kind of deal with it. So I never really had to dip into crimes against humanity when it came to keeping everybody alive and warm. Things got pretty hairy later on. Like the tension meter almost topped out, which would be a game over because the city would become unrulable. But yeah, eventually things can get pretty rowdy. I never saw the end of those tech trees, so I do not know like how they one up, eating corpses instead of burying them. Right. Yeah.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Building is not confined to like wedges around the circular generator anymore. Like,
yeah, so that to me was the number one thing that I saw. That's why I only completed the tutorial. Is that was super disappointing to me. It feels like that kind of gets rid of what makes Frostpunk.
I eventually grew to enjoy it because it does make placement a little bit more of a concern. Just because there are adjacency bonuses and penalties, so like things like disease and squalor. You don't want to have like a residential area like overlapping with like an industrial area or an extraction area. You're trying to like huddle things up so that the heating requirements are lower. Like placement in Frostpunk 1 was more about like, hey, does this look nice, rather than any actual efficiency. Like in this one, the distance between where somebody works and where they live does kind of factor in, and that gets into this other thing. Like the things that you're laying out on the hexagon grids are like districts, and they the basic district performs kind of a general function. So like extraction district put over a resource node will extract whatever that resource is. Industrial zones will like manufacture goods or like prefabs for building. Housing is obviously housing, but you can like expand them and get spots for like buildings that have specialized tasks inside of them. And there are also
I remember that with like the research whatever area is a specialization of the residential.
Yeah. And so like figuring out how many of what you need and where to put them and where to kind of keep your storage and logistics hubs and your transport hubs in order to make everything run as efficiently as possible. It is a like everything else, kind of an elaboration on and complication on the initial Frostpunk system. I agree.
Think that was my Oh, sorry.
Oh no, I agree. Kind of at the expense of the main aesthetic drive of Frostpunk 1, like having everything be centered, radially, was unique.
Yeah, I think that was one of the things for me that was a bit of a turnout. Is it seemed like this game, from what I've seen, really, really is into being fiddly, which is very much not something I generally like in games.
Yeah, it's super fiddly, which I, here's me, just pig and shit, but I've seen the complaint lodged that it is possibly too much.
Yeah. The other thing is just I'm kind of surprised that the like UI made it through testing, because like the whole like let's design everything to be white on white on white, but then let's also make it the specifics of like placement and frost cutting super important. Seems like that should have been caught early on.
Yeah, I think they could probably deal with a little bit more contrast. My bigger concern was the fact that like menus and stuff were 3D objects represented in the world as opposed to like overlays. So that was a bit of a bummer. I think they could definitely refine it, I think.
Okay, that might have been. I did know some like performance issues. I wonder if that could be part of it.
Yeah. And I haven't even talked about like the way that like wasteland exploration and needing to like cut paths gets in wasteland frostland exploration.
I do sort of like the idea of the frost cutting, just from like a like lore conceit, I guess.
Yeah. It's an extra that's an extra step that you have to do. So think about it like expending resources to put down buildable space. So, you've got to clear space in the frost in order to kind of build something. And when I talk about like trail cutting, like when you find like it's no longer you can just like go and set up outposts and they will automatically send back resources. What ends up happening is you need to go and find those places and then expend resources either building trails or building like skyways to them, basically like tram lines, in order to kind of set up a logistics network. And the order in which you discover stuff and the way you lay things out, affects how often your shipments come in. Oh, and all of this is in addition to, depending on the choices that you make when you are making decisions over the course of the 5 chapters. I was up to running 3 cities at once.
Oh, wow.
and optimizing and sending resources and people between them, like these specialized colonies that had different kind of like resource nodes that were available to them, and thus like different things they could readily produce. So like I could hyper focus and make just establish everything with trade. Yeah, it's kind of bonkers.
How
yeah.
Oh
no, good.
How cold does it get by the end of the game?
I wasn't paying attention because it's so incremental. I just the raw temperature number doesn't mean as much to me as like the relative, like, all right, the heat demand right now is pretty good and I have enough resources at this burn, and coming up is a time where I'm getting like the double down arrow, so it's going to be a big drop, so I need to prepare for that.
Okay.
Yeah.
I only follow it because I remember in the first game there were some funny things where it would get cold enough that in real life the smoke from your smokestacks would immediately freeze.
Yeah. A little bit implausible, some of it. I don't know. I don't know if it got so cold that like physics would cease to function. But
my headcanon here, because this canonically takes place in Antarctica, and my headcanon is that there's like a Mad Max situation going on where all the rest of the world, like the storm is past and everyone's just gone on with their lives. Oh. And it's only super cold there because they're in freaking Antarctica.
It's the British. Yeah. Yeah. So like maybe the extra level of complexity is not going to be for everybody. I think definitely for sure it's not going to be for everybody. I'm super excited to hop in and do more. Play a higher difficulty, mess around like the endless mode, or like the, little kind of like skirmish mode for it. Like you can have different opposing factions who have different values that you have to kind of balance, that are not just like progress versus tradition and stuff like that. I really dig it, but it's not going to be for everybody.
The idea of an endless mode is really intriguing. Like, what do you know about that? I know you said you haven't tried it, but
Oh no, it seems like it's going to be just like just like the Frostpunk 1 kind of skirmish mode.
Okay, I gotcha.
Yeah, which is just like, okay, well here's all the systems unlocked. Like, there's not going to be a story that is like taking you through this. Instead, like, just build your city from the start, and here are random but escalating bad conditions.
Mm-hmm.
So what is the most horrible thing you did in your run?
I built a prison. I wasn't happy about building prisons and deploying guards, but again, I was playing on kind of super easy. So
you didn't do like any like child labor or harvesting the dead's organs or anything like that?
No, I didn't do any harving. No, it's yeah, nothing like that on this one. Different playthroughs will be time for different kinds of crapulence. But that will come later.
Please tell me that they don't literally call it harving in game.
No, that's just my fun name for it.
Okay.
They do call them like harvest funerals, though.
Yes, that is one of the technologies that you can do, which is like, okay, do we bury bodies intact, or do we harvest organs, any usable organs from the person, in order to ensure everybody else's survival? It's one of those things.
Is it coded language if it's just saying what the thing is?
No, it's not coded at all. I think it's actually
the opposite. Yeah.
I don't think they even said it was coded. Yeah. I don't want to go too much more in depth on it because it is an incredibly complex game. I'm sure other mechanics are going to be drawn out in the DLCs. I'll talk about it when I have more, but just understand that it is an escalation from the first in every way. It's for me, it's probably not for everybody.
I am mixed on whether I like the aesthetic, but I do have to say it is a much prettier game.
Yes.
Like they in particular, the stuff they do with like the procedural trains and stuff is very cool.
Yeah.
And whereas with an XCOM, I could pretty comfortably tell someone like, oh, just go straight to the second game, like maybe watch an overview of the first. It sounds like the path is still very much start with Frostpunk 1.
They're very different games. They've got this kind of similar balancing acts that you have to do. Like, there are things that kind of map on 1-to-1, but yeah, like Frostpunk 2 does not obviate Frostpunk 1. I would say it is a pretty good extension in complexity off of the DLCs, like the DLC campaigns for Frostpunk 1. Like it a lot of stuff you can kind of see where they got the idea for it there. But yeah, like Frostpunk 1 is still good and still essential, I think. Yeah.
Very cool.
I had another one, but I'm going to save it for another time.
You tease.
Yeah, it's also really old. And I'm not exactly done with it, but yeah. Let's see who else has something new. Dennis, Moxie. Okay.
Dennis, unless Moxie, who kind of comboed with you, has anything huge to talk about in addition.
The only thing, the only thing I have is that I just did like a Google search and for something, and what came up on the Frostpunk forum is this game is an Elon Musk humiliation kink power fantasy.
I mean, just in terms of the people making demands on you all the time. Yeah, I don't understand that joke, actually. Yeah, I don't know. There
are a lot of the factions are just straight up like tech bro type people.
But wait, is the kink Elon Musk's kink of being humiliated, or is the kink of humiliating specifically Elon Musk?
No, this is the kink of being humiliated by Elon Musk.
No, I don't get it. I don't get the joke.
We need to diagram that sentence.
Yeah. Let's see. So go ahead, Dennis.
Yeah, I'll jump in then because I have a bunch of new stuff. Although related to something I played before, I finished the other two Crash Bandicoot games.
Okay.
In the N-Sane Trilogy that's on Game Pass, kind of the up-resed, remaster, whatever versions of the games. And if you'll remember, I played Crash Bandicoot 2 before. That was actually my entry to the series, and had never actually gotten around to playing Crash Bandicoot 3. And man, going back to 2, everything was as good as I remembered it. It just feels like some of the rough edges of the first one were very much sanded off, not just because it was up-resed, but it feels like, you know, Naughty Dog was really kind of getting their groove on you know, how they should be difficult. Whereas, you know, Crash Bandicoot 1 just had platforming sections that were kind of shitty to you, and you know, sent you very far back if you failed them. You know, 2 did a lot better job making things interesting, and providing kind of unique fun challenges instead of just hard challenges. So I think you know, upon going back through, 2 takes the cake for the pinnacle of the series. Like we said, I feel like the second game in the series is often the best. And that's true across a couple different mediums as well. But anyway, yeah, so I played that through. That was kind of a nice nostalgic playthrough. I did some of the, you know, item collection and you know, trying to 100% stuff, but kind of fell off that about halfway through. And so just finished it. The third game, Crash Warped, unfortunately fell really flat for me.
You never played that before, right?
Never played it before, so I didn't have the nostalgia goggles. And then, you know, it felt like they were leaning so hard into like having different mini games, essentially. Like there are all sorts of levels where it's like, oh, this one you're in an airplane and it's a little flight sim, and this one, you know, you're racing forwards is a little literal, like you're racing on a motorcycle. And you know, all these things where previous games that had different conventions based on like the direction you were going in relation to the camera. So running away from a boulder, or kind of traditional 2D platforming, or running forwards across a rickety bridge, that sort of thing. Crash Warped felt like they didn't have any other ideas for that kind of content. And so they're just like, you know, let's make a little, you know, a little flight sim, and that will be a level for some reason.
Yeah. I think
so getting away from platforming.
The theme for this episode is escalation.
Yes. Yeah. And it feels like that kind of tripped them up. So I could see if I was playing this on the PS1, being like, oh my gosh, whiz bang, look at all these different things that the game can do. You know, just like certain later Naughty Dog titles served as tech demos for their various systems. I'm sure there was some of that there. But given that I'm playing this multiple generations behind, that kind of showcasing doesn't hold sway the way that it might have. So right. What's left behind that is not very intriguing, unfortunately. But mercifully short. So, you know, I blasted through everything and you know, saw the end of it. Got to relive 2, which was super fun, and I think holds up very well. And I can kind of wave goodbye to that series with I think an overall very positive experience and definitely fondness for the second game.
You're not going to go into the ones that are not Naughty Dog, the, you know, what
not yet. If they show up on Game Pass, I might go for it.
I think that those are going to be memory hold. I don't know that there are people clamoring for those.
Is that like the Game Boy one?
No, like the PS2 and Xbox era, like Crash of the Titans.
Didn't they tried to do a sequel to CTR that was like a Double Dash kind of deal?
Maybe.
I feel like, yeah. Because Crash Team Racing also was a phenomenal game. And I've got the remake of that on PS4.
Yeah, Crash Nitro Kart.
How did that compare to Jak and Daxter Racing?
Definitely the better of the 2.
Really?
Jak and Daxter Racing was weird.
I mean,
I've got the remake of that, and I could not get very far into it, unfortunately. Yeah, so that's some good times with Crash Bandicoot. But then also kind of going through the Game Pass portal here. a couple weeks ago, we had asked about like, what game would you just binge through in a weekend if you had some free time? And my answer was Control.
Okay.
Which is my secret shame of never actually having played. And so I am knee deep into Control, playing that for the first time.
Okay. What do you think?
I think it is extremely my jam.
Okay.
So first off, it's nice, playing on PC, I can go in and crank up the settings. So, after spending a lot of time on games that probably, are not taxing my hardware to say the least, going into Control and cranking up all the settings and have it still run smoothly was fun. And it's a very pretty game. But I think what struck me over and over again as I've been playing through it is how much goofiness or absurdity is an integral part of cosmic horror.
Okay.
The same way that someone can reflexively laugh when they see something that is so shocking or horrifying that they're not expecting. I think it's just like, yeah, if you're dealing with forces truly beyond your comprehension, you're gonna come up against some stuff that just seems a little bit silly.
And that's definitely heightened by the fact that everything is in this very institutional language.
Yes. The coded language, as I referred to earlier, like, it's all very polished and has almost the 1950s office gee whiz to it.
Have you read much of the SCP stuff?
Just enough to know what it's about, not enough to actually be able to recite like specific cases or lore.
Okay.
But yeah, this is SCP is all get out.
Yeah, because I know in that at least, a lot of the code language stuff like that is a big technique they use because, it's basically a way in writing to do like slow reveals and, plot twists and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm. 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 Yeah, you kind of, as you learn the code, you can understand more and more. I think a bigger thing. So I went in knowing it kind of had SCP vibes, but not knowing anything really specific about the story. And the big surprise for me was how populated it is.
Yeah.
After a pretty lonely opening act, suddenly you're surrounded by people and friendly people. And what I thought was going to be much more of a solitary journey has actually got a lot of relationship and conversation and all that to kind of punch it up along the way.
Yeah.
And initially I didn't like that because I was like, ooh, like, no, it's supposed to be spoopy, but leaning into that goofiness or silliness, or absurdity is probably the right term for it. But as I grew more comfortable with that, the discussing these aberrations with your friend at the water cooler became a lot more natural as a part of the game.
Yeah.
So, the moment to moment is fun. I think they pretty much nail the ratio of like pacing when it comes to, reading through documents that you're finding in the level and exploring creepy spaces, and then over into frantic gunfights. Kind of the ratio between those is tuned, it feels like, just for me. I will say so I've made it to the third main mission, the third main area, the research department. And there's a notable jump in combat difficulty there. And that's thrown that ratio off a little bit, but I'm also kind of acclimating to some new enemies, and I'm sure I'll figure it out. So, by and large, kind of the vibes of the game and the pacing of the game is right on.
I do not want to poison the well, but you, by and large, have seen all of the enemies that it's going to throw at you.
Okay. Yeah. That's, they throw a lot of new stuff at you at the beginning of the act I'm in. So it'll take me plenty of time to figure all that out. The only other thought I had that I wanted to share on it that was just so amusing to me is how little like glitches that I encounter I assign way more relevance to.
because it's already doing perception
yes.
stuff. Yeah.
Yes. So 2 examples, and I'll try not to spoil too much. But there's a music room that you find at one point that like has a song that it implies is supernatural in some way. Like by listening to it, it's going to be crazy. And I ducked into there during some combat and was like, oh, well, I guess I'm exploring this now because this seems rad as hell. And was just sitting there listening to the song. And in the middle of the song, suddenly there's like a boom and the room shakes a little bit. I'm like, oh God, the song is like exploding or something's happening. And then it happened again towards the end of the song. And I like jumped each time and was so like, is the room suddenly going to explode? Is my mind about to explode? What's going on? No, I had just left an enemy alive on the other side of the door.
Yeah, that'll happen.
Had seen fit to throw a grenade at intervals, so just broken AI made this song way more creepy than it actually was. And then second, there's a moment where you're kind of going across a long bridge that doesn't have guardrails on either side. I don't know why all these things never have guardrails. But anyway, you kind of get a vision from an entity that's helping you. And then that vision like kind of took over my screen and made everything black. And I was like, oh, this is tense. Now I've got to walk across this chasm and stay on the trail, not being able to see. This is so cool. What an interesting idea. And of course, fell to my death. And then when I respawned back at the starting point, everything was still completely blacked out.
Yeah.
I had to restart the game.
Graphical glitch.
Yeah. So just stuff like that. Like I guess it's a credit to Control, right? That I'm always on my toes. I'm never completely sure, like, if what I'm experiencing is real. Is this intended? Is this, how much do I read into all this stuff? I spend way too much time shooting out speakers and cameras around the areas I'm in.
Okay.
So there's the kind of enemy presence or whatever is constantly whispering to you, both through hosts and then through the speakers. And so they're like, you get less of their voice if you shoot the speakers. I'm pretty confident there's no mechanical effect, but it just feels right to shoot speakers. So they stop, muttering at you. And then cameras, I don't know. I don't like cameras. But you also like start to realize that they're placed in very weird ways. Like there'll be a corner with a camera on each section of the wall right against the corner, effectively looking at the same area.
Okay.
And just funny stuff like that. So yeah, and again, the absurdity combined with the cosmic core is really effective for me and really good time.
Yeah. I'm glad you're enjoying it. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. It feels like I'm progressing through the game pretty quickly. I haven't looked at how long to beat or anything like that.
It's a long game, not like Persona long, but it's going to be a hike.
I mean, that doesn't sound like a negative with my experience so far. So
yeah.
That sounds great. Yeah. So that's kind of the new game I've been playing is Control.
Cool.
Woo.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Control. Moxie, how about you? Anything besides Frostpunk 2?
I mean, technically, I'm still playing Far Cry 6. I'm about to finish up I've gotten to the first boss. So basically, there's 3 separate like story paths, and then kind of the final thing. I don't know. Like I said, I think I said last time, like Far Cry is fundamentally a fatally flawed series because, it's, overall it's excellent. The things it does that, no other games do in terms of, having a open world shooter and kind of stealth system, those sorts of things are amazing. But the fact that it's not willing to commit to any sort of actual political statements or anything like that kind of just kills anything that could make it actually interesting.
I mean, it's not the greatest crime in the world for something to be a brain dead podcast game, right?
It is in this case, because
Okay.
I mean, it's telling innately political stories, but refusing to take a political stance, and therefore it just can't really say or do anything.
Okay, so it's kind of just hemmed in by the size of its publisher, really.
Yeah, exactly. And then this one also, like, since 3, they've been making just a bunch of gameplay mistakes, like with again, it's with being off for 2 weeks, I don't know what about this I've talked about and what I haven't. They've got a system where basically the weapons you unlock come in 4 different tiers, and each tier has more of the attachment slots unlocked. But the problem is that, one, that's just like really boring, and for a number of the weapons, it doesn't matter that much. So, like, for example, if you're using a sniper rifle, there's not much point in whether or not you put on a red dot scope, or red dot laser pointer, whatever it's called, because that's what you use for close range combat.
Mm-hmm.
But the other thing is that runs into things where, for example, if you want a sawed-off shotgun, that's the only sawed-off shotgun in the game is a tier 1 weapon, so you just have like a worse shotgun.
Is that a balance thing?
It doesn't appear to be, no.
Yeah, weird.
There are, balanced things, but like, yeah, overall, it seems like they just didn't necessarily, they spread the weapons they designed across the various tiers. And the problem is, that doesn't work when, basically you either run into a situation with that where either A, all of the weapons are the same, and you just choose wherever tier you're at, which is boring. Or you have a situation where, all the weapons are unique, and that means some of them are, some of the archetypes just aren't available in high tier weapons. There's also things where, like, they've got a whole bunch of what they call resolver weapons, which are just like the wacky kind of super technology weapons. But the problem is that a lot of them just don't make a lot of sense with the game. So, for example, there's a game that's basically a man-portable ballista that's just, fires a massive, super powerful arrow. The problem with that is that, like, there's not really a scenario where you need that. Like, this is a game that has, like, super high, high-powered, like, bullet sponge enemies or something. So there's no reason not to just, like, a pistol shot to the head will kill any enemy.
Okay. Is there, I mean, could that be useful for, like, setting up a trap to take out, like, a vehicle or something?
Well, I don't know. So that's the other thing, is I spent like at least an hour last night trying to set up. There's a situation where one of the bad guys, like, you go to rescue someone. It's like, oh, you rescued him. Oh no, just joking. We rigged him up with a bomb, and plot twist, he dies. And then you go out to get revenge and track him down to where he's celebrating in a hotel. And I figured, like, I'll do some like dramatic irony. I'm going to, set up like claymores and stuff outside his hotel room, and then like, make a bunch of noise to alert the guards. And then when he tries to flee, he'll just get blown up.
Yeah, do some doing hitman shit. Yeah.
Yeah. The problem is I couldn't get it to actually work. Like the proximity explosive stuff like that are just so poorly implemented that like basically as he was walking up to the door of the hotel room, it would basically the explosives would detect him through the walls and explode, so that by the time he actually exited the room, the explosives were already blown up.
Ugh.
So like I don't know. There's a stealth pistol that is basically like a jury-rigged nail gun, which is kind of cool, except that there's nothing stopping you from putting a silencer on any weapon, and you can't equip that weapon in the pistol slot. So there's I don't know. It's like I said, there are things this game does well. Whoever it is that voice acts the main villain does a really great job.
Yeah, Giancarlo Esposito.
Yes. And I like some of the things they do to kind of lean into the sort of Afro-Caribbean pastiche they've got going on. But the actual gameplay stuff like that, there's just, I don't know, a ton of mistakes.
Sounds kind of like a mess.
Yeah, I don't know, they've got a good core product. They need to just actually make good games.
Yeah, I mean,
they're too big to make anything good.
It just kind of sounds like they, stagnated, which is a, problem.
Yeah, I think my ideal would be take like the stealth and inventory system from Far Cry 2, the overall storytelling and stuff like that from 3, and then some of the things they've learned with just some of the cool weapons and characters and stuff like that from the other games. I think that would be the ideal.
Yeah. Just, I don't think they've got it in them anymore.
Yep.
Oh, well. Sometimes that's just the way it goes.
Yep.
Anything else?
No, that's all I got.
That sounds like a segment.
Multiplayer.
Now it is time for the multiplayer, where we ask you a question and you answer it. Dennis, what is the question that you ask the nice people?
Yeah, we're allowed to and should change our opinions on things over time. So I want to know, what is the game where your opinion has changed on it the most? And mind you, this could be a change for the better or a change for the worse.
Yeah. And let's go through these kind of quickly. We got a later start tonight, so if we are moving kind of quick from this point forward, that is why. Peter writes, Kingdom Hearts. When this game was first released for the PS2 and I saw commercials for it, I only thought, wow, that looks dumb because I don't much care for Disney characters. And I was just getting into anime, so Gundam and Yu Yu Hakusho were my things. Fast forward to about 2 days before Christmas that year, and I'm spending some time at a friend's house, and they were hanging around playing Kingdom Hearts, and they were stuck trying to get to the first boss, the guard armor in Traverse Town. So after multiple people getting frustrated, they gave me an opportunity to play, and as soon as I started playing, boy howdy was it fun. That became one of the 3 games I got for Christmas, probably because I talked my parents' ear off about it. I also did not have a PS2 at the time. Oh boy.
No.
Well, I'm not a diehard like I used to be. I still look back with fond memories on the franchise. Yeah. I mean, I don't blame somebody for being a little bit put off by the premise.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
as somebody who was very put off by the premise, so much so that I never played it until it was too late. And then I, kind of just figured, for other people, not for me. So
I love the fact that we're now at the point where like it is too late to start Kingdom Hearts. Like, there's no way to jump on to that, ship that has produced like 30 games by now.
The gummy ship. I played the first one in its day and age, but at the same time, I'm older than y'all, so like I was already past the age that was directed at when I played it. So
it came out when I was like 15, so I was kind of like too cool for it a little bit at that point. I think I was never too cool for anything. I've never, but
you weren't cool enough that you didn't feel like your cool would be threatened by playing it.
I mean, I was just interested in other stuff. Let's see. Moxie, what does Lindsay say?
Lindsay says, I know this isn't everybody's favorite in the series, but Dark Souls 2. With the Scholar Edition, they fixed a lot, changed enemy placements, added boss, and tried to make it much better.
Yeah. No, they got a second chance. I liked Dark Souls 2 as it was, but I don't know. Like Scholar is great. The DLCs on that are great. It's a really good overall product. And I still don't understand why people hate it. Do not tell me why you hate it. I don't want to hear it. I'm not actually curious. I know exactly why you hate it. I don't care.
I don't know, guys. I think if we tried a bit, we could change their opinion.
Jala, what does Michael say?
Michael says, BioShock Infinite soured the most for me. I loved the first two so much and followed the development of Infinite for so long. I just wanted it to be good so bad. I overlooked a lot on my first playthrough. But thinking back and listening to the WAF on it made me realize the game had bad gameplay and bad morals, and extreme disappointment after the hype.
It's been satisfying to see the worm turn on BioShock Infinite. We're almost to the point where it's going to wrap back around again.
I still haven't played it.
I need to not talk because I have a huge chip on my shoulder for it really frustrates me how I'm not a fan of the negative discourse of BioShock Infinite. I'll leave it at that.
All right, yeah. I mean, even just like take away the narrative problems with it. It's just everything's really bullet spongy, and it doesn't have the like really good. It trades interesting encounter design for the Skyway shit, for the Skyhook stuff. It's not. I don't know. Doesn't work for me, and we're almost to the point where it's going to wrap back around, and it's going to get a reappraisal with whatever Ken Levine's next thing is. So.
Have they done an Infinite remastered yet?
No. It seems like that
I feel like we're probably due.
Yeah. Dennis, what does Callum say?
Callum says Soul Reaver. When I played this on release, I really enjoyed it and thought the gameplay was great. I tried to replay it about 6 years ago and gave up after 20 minutes. The control scheme was absolute arse.
Yeah. You don't have to play Soul Reaver. I know that remaster was announced, but you don't have to do it. You really don't. You can watch the cutscenes. It's there for you.
I don't understand the idea of like when a remaster gets released, then people want to play the original. It's like that's why the remaster is a thing.
Oh no, I'm just saying like even with the remaster.
Oh no, I'm just saying in general. No, not saying that Callum or anything. No.
Yeah, no. People are like, oh my gosh, Soul Reaver, it's so amazing. And it's like you realize that like 80% of it by volume is bad Sokoban puzzles, right?
Isn't it like a comic?
No, I don't.
I thought that was one that's like based on a comic.
No, that's not the one. Yeah,
that was Reeve Solar, actually.
Okay,
different thing. Rizana says, oh, for me, it's got to be Dragon Age Origins. It was by far the RPG that I played the most growing up, and seeing the characters and choices was so new and amazing to me. Trying to replay it recently to see if I still enjoy the series, boy, was it a wake-up call about how my lack of context for better RPGs made it glow in my younger eyes. Yeah, it's been a while since I revisited it, so...
Yeah, that was one of my first, build relationships with your party RPGs that I played. So I can totally understand that.
Yeah.
Also, the way you could program detailed instructions for your NPCs lives rent free in my head.
They had a little like Gambit system built in.
I want just a game that is all that, please.
Wait, is that a system where you throw cards at people?
No, it's that's what they call the party automation stuff from Final Fantasy 12. That's what it is. Yeah. Let's see, Moxie. What does May say?
May says, XCOM. I tried it as a teenager and didn't really get the appeal, but came back to it in my 20s and was pretty hooked on it for a while. Very glad I gave the series another try. Is this a bit or no?
I don't think so.
Okay, I wasn't sure if the joke was they played XCOM as in
the original
XCOM, and then in their 20s they played XCOM as in
this might be a young May might be somebody who was who encountered XCOM 2012 in their teenage years, and then maybe last year or so or 2 years ago they revisited it in their 20s. Technically is possible in the timeline. So
cool either way. I wasn't sure if that was supposed to be okay. Anyways,
May write in and let us know if you are a young.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah. It just if you're like me and you sometimes just accidentally shave a decade off of your calculations, I could understand why it might read as the other one. And finally here, Jala, what does Ruki say?
Ruki says, I'm going to skip the obvious answer, rhymes with bark bowls, and go with Sekiro. I liked the game a whole lot in the beginning, had some doubts about midway through, then about 2 bosses from the end, realized I hated it so much and never wanted to play it again.
About 2 bosses from the end it's a lot. Yeah. I don't blame you. It's a lot. Yeah, I'm just going to go with the famous one for me. My initial negative reaction to Dark Souls, and then it incubating for a while, and then me coming around on it. It is a thing of network lore, and I don't want to pretend that anything else will supplant it.
You find it passable now, yes?
Yeah, it's fine. Moxie, how about you?
I think I'd have to go with Dead Island and Dying Light. Dead Island makes some kind of questionable calls with how they take the storyline, and then abruptly kill off a character that doesn't deserve to be killed off, and end with a super edgy ending, and then the ending actually doesn't make any sense without details that are only explained in the novelization.
Oh, well, that's dumb.
It's basically some character just kind of you take her with you for no reason, and because the game never thinks to mention, in the novelization they reveal that she's patient 0.
No.
And then Dying Light, just the game ends with a really finicky Mirror's Edge style platforming sequence, and then a boss fight that is the nothing but quick time events, which are most notably the only quick time events in the entire game.
Ugh.
Oh no.
That sounds terrible.
Yeah, that sucks. And this is your opinion souring over the course of a game. It shit the bed.
Yes.
Both shit the bed for you at the end.
Yeah, I'm not sure of games where the opinion has improved. I usually drop games pretty quickly.
Yeah. Jala, how about you?
So I have a couple of different answers. The first one that I'll pop off with, because it was the first one I thought of, was Resident Evil 6. So I've been a big fan over the years, and I still am. But after having a multi-year gap between the last time that I Sherped someone through and then playing it after having played some of the newer games in the series, installations and everything, and then going back to it again, some of the stuff that other people were complaining about, and I'm like, it's fine. Now that I'm playing it again, I'm like, it's not great. Like some of the stuff, not everything. I still enjoy the game, but there's definitely some parts that I'm just like, that could be better. I can understand why people would be upset at this, that kind of thing. But other than that, within the gameplay cycle, I think the ones that have really had like the biggest roller coaster for me have been like the Danganronpa titles, especially the first one, because I was like really into it until I suddenly wasn't. I was very mad. But then I played the second one and then I was mad. And then like, like every single time I have to stop and ask myself, do I like this game or don't I? And I think overall I like them on the whole. But like, it's always this weird thing where I'm like, I'm not actually sure while I'm going through it.
You make me think of the quote from the Elvis movie that for a good con job, you need the audience to not quite be sure they should be enjoying it as much as they are.
Except it's just it's push and pull. Like there's some real like hard no's, and then there's some things that are really cool. So it's like.
Your relationship with Danganronpa is kind of like if you were allergic to your favorite food.
Sort of. I mean, I don't know. It's a wild kind of situation for sure. So.
Yeah. And Dennis, how about you?
Yeah, for me, it's got to be Destiny 2. I forget exactly why. I think I was just in the mood for a shooter when Destiny 2 was about to come out. And maybe I'd just gotten a PS4 or something like that. But I was all aboard the hype train. I was the conductor of the hype train. It was going to be my forever game. They were going to take all of their lessons from Destiny 1 and just, out the gate, Destiny 2 was going to be amazing. It's one of the very few times that I've gotten like the super deluxe edition of the game that had all the DLCs. Heavy air quotes, all the DLCs.
Right.
And so I went all in on it at launch.
To be fair, no one has all the DLCs now.
Yes.
Right.
One of my main beefs. But yeah, just tried so hard to convince myself that this was it. This was amazing. Everything looked so good. The shotgun feels so perfect, and then just gradually realized like they didn't learn anything from Destiny 1 about making an actually fun game. And the DLCs that were in the Super Premium Deluxe Edition was just the shitty placeholder until they figured out what they wanted to do for DLCs.
Yeah.
And I think at this point, as Moxie alluded to, literally everything that I paid for in the deluxe edition of the game is not just free to everyone. That'd be fine. I get it. Stuff ages.
It's like deprecated.
It's just not available. Doesn't exist.
Yeah, it cycles in and out specifically.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I went from a huge Destiny 2 stan to just, being very burned by it.
Yeah. Destiny is something you have to catch the right part of the wave, because there have definitely been times when Destiny has been and probably will be again amazing, but there are definitely times when it's not.
Yeah.
Yeah, very low lows.
Yep.
Well, thank you so much, everybody, for writing in. If you would like to participate, join the Duckfeed community group on Facebook. Watch for the prompts to go up on Monday afternoons. Thank you, Dennis, for posting it.
Mm-hmm.
The end boss.
Now it is time for the end boss, where we talk about things that are happening in the world of video games, how we feel about them. Sorry, it's been a very long time since we recorded the show. We're recording this the night of that PlayStation, the PlayStation State of Play. I don't think any of us brought this as like a main story, but Jala, when I heard the opening bars of that of the LUNAR theme song, I was like, shit, Jala's got more episodes to record.
Yeah. Well, now it's going to definitely put me on more of a time crunch because, like, now I have to really like batten down the hatches and make sure that I get Shining Force 3 done so I can finish the original Sega CD and LUNAR or Sega CD and PlayStation 1 versions of LUNAR 2 because I did the first one, but not the second one yet.
Yeah.
And now they have announced the LUNAR Remastered Collection, which I didn't think we were going to get like ever. So cool. That's fun. That means a lot more people can experience these games, and I'm hoping that they do a little bit better of a translation job, especially since I forgot some of the things that were in that LUNAR Eternal Blues translation. That there are some unfortunate word choices, including lots of words that have been retired from normal use for
probably some
reasons.
ableist slurs.
Yes, that I forgot about, but they exist in there. That I'm like, oh, cool. Not really. So yeah, this will be cool that is coming out. And people are like, oh, you got to be so excited. And I got so many people pinging me, but like, I'm like classically never excited about an announcement when I have the game in my hand. And then we'll talk.
There's a time for that.
Yeah. But there was that, but then there was also the Midnight Walk was also announced. And this is a game by the people who made Lost in Random, which I didn't finish, but Dave and I played through some of that game, and it's very charming and very cool. That's a neat game.
I played that too and couldn't finish it either. I think so. It is very clearly Tim Burton inspired.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Are you saying you got lost in Random?
Stop. But I think there's just a point of saturation with that style that you don't get to ever in a movie because it's 2 hours, but that you definitely get to in a game in that style that is, tens of hours.
Yeah, I feel like it probably would be best played if you just have it in like, doses. You play a little bit, you play like a level, and then you move on, and then you set it down and then you pick it back up. The Midnight Walk is all claymation, so it's kind of that specific kind of look, but it looks pretty cute and everything. So if I do not pick it up, Dave will be picking it up, and then we will be playing that game. So
I was a little bit bummed out because before the title was revealed, it really looked like a new Grime game.
Ooh.
Yeah, just to watch like the first 15 seconds of that trailer and think yeah, man, this really looks like Grime. Yeah. Oh, it's definitely a wild style for them to try.
Yep.
You had another story that was not State of Play.
Yes.
I just wanted to lead with that because we could hit those quick. Yeah.
So the Yale Library has an exhibit going right now of the first known text venture game, Amnesia, from 1986. So this is a game where you wake up naked in a hotel room and you don't know who you are and how you got there, and your clothes are missing, and somebody knocks on the door. I'm kind of curious about where this goes from there.
On.
Yeah.
Can you get strangled by your tie?
I don't know because I didn't get to play this game. But there's a series of puzzles to find your clothes, leave the hotel, and navigate the streets of Manhattan. And by gathering clues and avoiding different pitfalls, you gradually discover that the protagonist has a fiance he can't remember, is being pursued by an assassin, and is wanted for murder in Texas. So it sounds very fun. It was written by a new wave sci-fi novelist named Thomas M. Dish. I don't know how to pronounce that last name. But anyway, they did this in there's a kind of like a conservation effort going on at Yale to kind of preserve some of these really, really old games and the hardware that they run on and everything. These, I believe, are set up via emulation, but they're in a setting that is designed to look like historically where you would be playing this kind of game. So like in in the library, but on a screen that is doctored up to look like an old computer setup and everything. So anyway, I just thought that was real cool, especially since game preservation is a topic that is near and dear to lots and lots of folks' hearts.
Yeah. Is there an indication as to why this one in particular? Because
it's the first text-based adventure game that's also by like a novelist guy who wrote a whole bunch of other things, probably.
Okay, yeah, because I would just say it came out in 1986, so it might be to the fact that it's by a novelist.
Yeah,
Probably.
might be.
Yeah. I had never heard about this one.
Yeah.
I know there's a the Hitchhiker's Guide text-based adventure, at least at one point, was available on their BBC's website now.
Yeah. No clue.
Don't know, but this is cool.
That's cool.
Yeah.
Especially all of like the accompanying documents, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. All of the development ephemera. Dennis, you had another thing from the State of Play there. Yeah. What's going on with Palworld?
They were a surprise launch announced at State of Play, so you can go play Palworld on PS5 right now. Forget about that lawsuit from Nintendo,
and you might want to go quick.
Yes, yeah. Who knows how long? I read this and I got such a strong image of like this is the person that was like had the biggest crush on you, followed you everywhere, and you like had to get a restraining order against them, and then the next day they're like clinging to your rival, saying how much in love with them they are. That's the feel I get from this. That's my head canon.
Maybe.
Yeah. So that probably tells you more about how my mind works in the story, but it's just kind of funny that the timing being a bit awkward of them being in major trouble with Nintendo and being like, oh, actually, we've been making that infinitely worse by partnering with Sony. So
I'm disappointed in the basis for Nintendo's suit on that, because they're not suing over the design similarities. Like, it's not a trademark thing or an IP thing. They're suing over like patented, like you catch a monster in a field and then it's stored on a digital device. Like, it's a gameplay patent thing, and that is like way more harmful even than just the design, the visual design.
It's also kind of bullshit.
Yeah, it
totally
sucks. Yeah, I don't like it. I don't like what Palworld did, but yeah, good.
Of note, that specific mechanic was not featured in any way, shape, or form in the trailer they showed.
Oh.
So whether that was a very intentional thing or just happened to be like, they wanted to show other pieces of the game, who knows?
Yeah.
But yeah, they did not, with this announcement, they did not give Nintendo any additional ammo. It's just, very funny to see the timing.
Yeah.
Given what Palworld is, it's kind of funny that they could just go with like, you shoot the Pokemon to capture it.
Maybe.
Now I'm mad that they didn't do that.
So Palworld on the PS5. And a little bit about the suit there. Hey, everybody, remember Flappy Bird?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That was try not to.
That was 10 years ago. That the sorry. I should have warned you.
So when are you featuring it on WAF?
It's a little bit thin for a whole episode of WAF. I don't know. Maybe it would be part of a mobile game special. Not this version though. So it's been 10 years since Flappy Bird came out. It was a game that was incredibly popular, free, ad supported, and the developer got real, I want to say, anxious about how popular it was. It felt like it was like too much of a distraction for people, and decided to pull it down from stores, leading to a huge glut of clones and things like that hitting. It was kind of a strange saga for mobile games at a weird inflection point for the market. Flappy Bird is coming back, but in Web 3.0 form, and without the creators, the creators' involvement. The creator didn't sell Flappy Bird or anything related to it. A crypto company has decided, we're just gonna like put this back out again and have it be on the blockchain too. The original creator has distanced themselves, saying, I didn't sell anything, I'm not related to the game, I don't support crypto. This is, it really feels like a cynical cynical nostalgia grab and just trying to incorporate more stuff into blockchain, crypto. They're probably going to throw AI in there. It's just grifter shit.
How could this be additive to the game in any way?
It has nothing to do.
Blockchain.
You tap the screen and the bird flaps, and you have to get between the pipes. That's pretty much it. All I can think of is it mines crypto while you play it. I've never been entirely clear on what Web 3.0 was, aside from a scam. So
yeah.
So avoid at all costs. There's other stuff you can play instead.
Agree.
Moxie, you have a story?
I do not. Sorry.
There we go. That sounds like a show to me. How do you all feel about buttoning it up?
Buttons.
The credit.
Thank you so much for listening to level number 516 of The Level. We appreciate you taking the time. You know what you can do to support us. Patreon, subscribing, leaving a rating or review, telling your friends, participating in the multiplayer. All of it's good. All of it helps us out. We don't have anything very specific to promote here, but Dennis does.
Yeah, I do. So if you're listening to this on Friday, go and check out the coming soon page for Deck of Wonders, the Master of Dungeon on Kickstarter. And if you're listening to it Tuesday or later, hey, you can go to that same place and back the Master of Dungeons right now to help make that game a reality. So thank you to everyone who has spent all this airtime listening to me talk about it. And I'm so excited to take another crack at it.
Yay!
And Jala, what's happening over on your show?
Yeah, so on Jala-chan's Place, you can hear the day that this episode drops will also be the first episode of my Shining Force 3 coverage, which will be an overview episode without spoilers. So you can listen to that, and then the very next show after that is going to be Shining Force 3 Scenario 1 and Scenarios 2 and 3. Those two episodes will be out a little bit later on. I'm going to take a break from that so it's not all Shining Force cast all the time for 6 months. There'll be a little bit of break, but then we'll have the rest of that coming out later on in this year. As for the last topical episode, we have one on parenting a non-speaking child, someone with non-speaking autism. And that has been the most downloaded episode of my show to date. So,
fantastic.
Yeah, very cool. But it has a lot of interesting information for anybody who is on the spectrum at all, or knows anybody who is on the spectrum, and people who are parents, people, whoever, everybody. Like there's something in there for everybody to get out of it, for sure. So
awesome. Where can they find that?
Jalachan.place.
Awesome. This has been The Level. I've been Kole Ross. You can find me on Blue Sky at Kole Ross.
I've been Dennis Furia. You can find me on Kickstarter, kickstarting Deck of Wonders, the Master of Dungeons.
I'm Moxie.
And I persist in being Jalachan, and you can find me all the places I might be found that way.
And stick around for some titles. I didn't write any titles down.
I have no titles.
Dennis?
I got you, boo.
Okay.
So
what is a boo?
Just a term of endearment.
I feel like I got you, boo is from something, but I don't know what.
Your mouth, okay. So move on.
Okay. Yeah. What do you have?
Oh, Lord. So first one is Find Your Pervy Person.
Okay.
From the discussion of Danganronpa.
You don't even need to explain it. I already know what it's about.
And then from discussion around May's multiplayer response, might be a young.
I like might be a young.
I like Pervy person, but hey, whatever.
Oh.
Moxie, you must be the tiebreaker.
Yeah, Moxie, you can choose.
I vote that we go with an untitled episode.
We either have already done that, or
you have, I believe so.
Yeah. Let's see. Am I thinking of an odd or even number
Even.
Jala.
Odd.
Jala.
See. Oh.
Okay. It is. I was thinking of 7. So yes, it is odd. So find your pervy person.
Yes. I never win at anything. This is great. This is my prize.
Also-
Ah!
All right. It is decided.